Ladies and gentlemen, an official in the Trump administration stated categorically that it was Senator Elizabeth Warren that controlled the AUTOPEN for Biden. If that's the case, almost certainly there were crimes committed by the senator and others. You can't say that Biden's AUTOPEN pardons are constitutional if he didn't know that they were being written on his behalf or they were being signed on his behalf. That's the issue. The AUTOPEN, yes, has been used. That's not a rebuttal to what President Trump and the Department of Justice are doing right now. You'll hear in a second Mr. Sachs accuse the senator of controlling the AUTOPEN. The issue now is President Trump has launched an investigation. The Department of Justice has launched an investigation into the potential criminal activity pertaining to the AUTOPEN pardons. Falsey, Schiff, Cheney, Hunter, everyone around Biden were pardoned preemptively. This is after 4 years of stating that nobody committed graft, bribery, that Cheney and others didn't destroy government records. So what Democrats did is they might have been committing crimes while they were investigating alleged crimes of President Trump. They almost certainly were committing crimes while they were claiming that Trump was being indicted for this crime and that crime. The problem, however, is that Cheney, according to Congressman Loudermilk, representative in Georgia, and other people in Congress, Liz Cheney destroyed government records, along with others in the January committee. That is a serious felony. In addition to that, you have Hunter's laptop, endless bribery and graft. They lied through their teeth about 50 intel officials, stating it was a Kremlin operation to inform you of how corrupt Democrats are. That's every time they get caught committing some type of felony, they just blame the Russians. So Democrats, I mean, it's old. People are tired of the nonsense. So what Democrats did, they tried to create a disinformation governance board, if you could believe that, while they were spreading information that misinformed and lying through their teeth left and right. That's unfortunately the hallmark of today's Democratic Party. President Trump, very clear and straightforward as to why anyone would vote for President Trump. He enforces immigration laws. He wants to rebuild American manufacturing, and he wants to end never-ending military conflict. He wants to end wars. Those are the three main reasons you would vote for President Trump. What are the reasons to vote for Democrats? Nobody knows, other than that they oppose Trump. And they're constantly trying to lie about their potential or alleged criminal conduct. Part of the grandiose lies and cover-up regarding President Biden's cognitive abilities were people around him signing pardons on his behalf through an AUTOPEN. That is unconstitutional. Now, you will hear exactly why an arrest, indictment, prosecution, possible prison or jail time could be ahead of Elizabeth Warren. Check this out.
This is the financial system of the future, Jesse, and we have to encourage it. What the Biden administration was doing, and let's face it, it wasn't Biden. Elizabeth Warren controlled the AUTOPEN during that administration. She, for some reason, has this pathological hatred of the crypto community.
So Elizabeth Warren controlled the AUTOPEN, according to David Sachs, top official in President Trump's administration. Okay, there's now a DOJ investigation, a formal investigation into the AUTOPEN. David Sachs, this is New York Post, Trump AI czar David Sachs claims Senator Warren controlled the AUTOPEN for Biden. This is the problem here, ladies and gentlemen. The pardons were unconstitutional because of this moment in U.S. history. This is why George Clooney and others forced Biden out, and this is also why President Trump, one of the reasons President Trump said, hey, there was a lot of foul play in 2020. Okay, when people say it's the safest and most secure, they're not acknowledging the fact that Biden's cognitive abilities were pretty much the same 5 years ago as they are today. And so it's very difficult to imagine that Biden is the most popular candidate of all time. You would have to, Bill Maher would have to explain, for example, or other liberal Democrats would have to explain how in less than 4 years, Biden goes from the most popular candidate of all time, beating President Obama's record, to George Clooney and others writing op-eds, forcing Biden out and having his vice president usurp him. The issue, however, is it's obvious. We all know almost certainly what went on. Democrats treated the country almost certainly the way they treated Bernie Sanders in 2016 and Biden in 2024. Biden won his primary. They don't even have functioning primaries. The primary is a complete joke within that political party. They don't even, it's a complete theatrical performance. Biden won his primary and they forced him out. This is why. This is also why the AUTOPENs are unconstitutional.
I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Hello.
Okay, so when he says we finally beat Medicare, I'm not trying to make fun of him. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not like a rabid, angry, vicious, indignant, venomous, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrat who would be merciless if it were Trump. When President Trump's brother passed away, it was #WrongTrump on Twitter. The trust and safety team back then on Twitter didn't think that was egregious, okay, or filled with contempt. When President Trump, when there was an attempt on President Trump's life, and a man lost his life, a firefighter lost his life protecting his family, Democrats were actually, a great many were actually stating they wanted that one of the most horrific moments in American history, they wanted it to be successful. I'm trying to be algorithmically friendly here. You can't get more vicious and venomous than a wonderful, highly educated, morally superior liberal Democrat when it comes to politics. They'll disown friends and family. They will accept the things that they would never accept if it were not within the political realm. That everyone closed their eyes. Well, Democrats put their heads in the sand and just said, Biden's fine. It's better than Trump. And they're an atheistic political religion. It's part of their theology. Biden and 2020, these were sacred cows nobody could touch. The problem, however, is they forced Biden to leave. They kicked Biden out of the presidential contest, went with Harris, who was his vice president, usurped him. If Elizabeth Warren was part of the cover-up and part of the AUTOPEN scandal, okay, then she faces the same perjury trap that Comey and others face. If she tells the truth, the entire edifice collapses politically. If she lies, then she faces a major perjury trap. And if she tells only half the truth, half of the truth, it's also a perjury trap. Okay, but listen to this.
President Biden is facing pressure to drop out of the race from the right and now the left. A top Washington Post columnist, David Ignatius, calling for President Biden to drop out of running for 2024. He did give a glowing review of the Biden presidency, adding that Biden was the right choice in 2020, but he cites some big concerns.
This combination of Joe Biden at the top of the ticket, and the polls show people feel uneasy.
They feel uneasy, ladies and gentlemen, because there were serious cognitive issues. So therefore, the pardons with Cheney, the pardons for Cheney, Hunter, everyone around, Hunter maybe not, but that's another story. Biden, one would think, would be okay with that, but we don't know if Biden was okay with the January 6th pardons or falsies pardons and other pardons. Check this out.
And in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go.
Those cages were built by President Obama, by the way. President Obama did roughly the same thing. There was a Guardian article talking about that years back, but let's continue.
What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think.
God bless Joe Biden. I'm not showing this to demean him. God bless him. It wasn't the fact that he was 82. And Democrats, again, the deception is unbelievable. There are 82-year-olds that are smarter and sharper than you and me and most other people. It has nothing to do with the fact that he was 82. He had serious cognitive issues. And God bless him. And now he has physical ailments. I wish him only the best. I wish Joe Biden only the best, even though, he almost certainly engaged in bribery, graft. That's why he had to preemptively pardon everybody. But there were AUTOPEN pardons that he might not have wanted. That's the issue that links, according to David Sachs, Elizabeth Warren faces serious legal repercussions. Hit subscribe. Thank you.